A high-stakes hearing played out in a Virginia courtroom today over whether the federal charges brought against former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James should be dismissed. Arguments centered around whether President Trump legally appointed the prosecutor who brought the case, Lindsey Halligan, to be interim U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia. CBS News Justice Department reporter Jake Rosen has more on what happened in court.
Lawyers for former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James faced off against the Justice Department on Thursday before a federal judge, weighing whether to dismiss the indictments against the officials because Lindsey Halligan's appointment as interim U.S. Attorney in Virginia is unlawful. The court decided to consolidate the arguments for dismissal soon after James's arraignment last month, and legal teams for both Comey and James argued that Halligan's appointment as interim U.S. Attorney was both invalid and unconstitutional. Halligan is a former Trump defense lawyer who later joined him in his second administration, and she was tapped as interim U.S. Attorney in September after serving as a senior aide to Mr. Trump in this White House. Halligan, who was previously an insurance lawyer, took the helm of the U.S. Attorney's office in Alexandria, Virginia, with no prosecutorial experience. Mr. Trump nominated her for U.S. Attorney in late September amid pressure from his White House to bring prosecutions against his political foes, including James and Comey. U.S. District Judge Cameron McGowan Curry didn't immediately rule from the bench on Thursday, but said she expects to decide by Thanksgiving on challenges to Halligan's appointment as interim U.S. Attorney. The hearing lasted more than an hour, and Comey was present for the proceeding. A Justice Department lawyer told the court that questions about whether Halligan was properly appointed are an effort by those attorneys for Comey and James to, quote, elevate at best what is a paperwork error and shouldn't doom the indictments against them. That attorney said that under a federal law governing U.S. attorney vacancies, Attorney General Pam Bondi has the power to appoint a person to fill that role temporarily for 120 days. And each appointment, no matter how many times that's done, triggers its own 120-day clock. But attorneys who argued for Comey and James said that Halligan's role in this indictment and against their client is a, quote, fundamental defect against the indictments, and argued that the Senate's advise and consent function in approving a president's nominees for U.S. attorney posts around the country would be, quote, eviscerated if the judge sides with the Justice Department. The Trump administration, he said, is attempting a, quote, end run around the Senate's confirmation process. Dismissing the case and not allowing the Justice Department to file new charges would, quote, deter and not reward the government for violating the Constitution's appointment clause and federal law, the attorneys argued. And after a review of the grand jury proceedings in both cases, the judge overseeing this case said that all the evidence shows that Ms. Halligan acted alone in securing those indictments. And the judge also questioned the government about what she said was a missing portion of the transcript from the Comey grand jury proceedings from about 4:28 p.m. to when that indictment was returned, and suggested that Attorney General Pam Bondi could not have reviewed the grand jury proceedings as she did when she submitted a memorandum that ratified the indictments and attempted to back up their legitimacy as Halligan faces these legal challenges. Back to you.
Jake Rosen, thank you. CBS News legal contributor Jessica Levinson joins us now to discuss this. So, Jessica, what do you make of the arguments made by lawyers for Comey and James?
So they're arguing that, as we just heard, that Lindsey Halligan was not properly appointed to this position, and that maybe unlike in other situations, that because she was the one to present these cases to the grand jury, because she was the one to sign both indictments, that there isn't a way to cure that problem. So we really see here a robust discussion about what the federal statute allows. Where does the federal statute allow the attorney general to continue to make these successive 120-day, 120-day, 120-day interim appointments? Or does the statute say you can appoint somebody for 120 days? That was Eric Siebert, who preceded Lindsey Halligan. And then after that, what can happen is what happened, which is the district court then reappointed Eric Siebert, but you can't keep restarting the clock and then appointing new people to these 120-day positions.
So if the judge rules Halligan is in fact not in her position legally, what happens to the charges against them?
So that's the big question here, because in other circumstances, what judges have said when there's very similar question about is this person properly in their role as head of the U.S. Attorney's Office, there have been other prosecutors who have been key parts of bringing those cases. When it comes to the case against Letitia James, when it comes to the case against James Comey, what they're both arguing is that there weren't career prosecutors who wanted to sign on. In fact, that's why the prior U.S. attorney in charge of the Eastern District of Virginia, Eric Siebert, resigned or was pushed out. And they're saying, so you can't cure the way you could in other places, that the only thing to do is basically to trash the indictments, similar to what happened with respect to Jack Smith trying to prosecute President Trump in Florida. They're saying you have to throw out the whole case.
Jessica Levinson, thank you.